too. Hammer is happening right now, so thanks for joining us. It's great to see you all. And then we've got some new faces. I know we've got some 5K and 1500 meter athletes, like these wonderful runners, who are in town as of recently, who you guys didn't see last Thursday? Friday? Whenever the last press conference here was. So welcome, welcome to the Brooks House. My name's Derek I think I know everyone here, but my name's Derek, so hi. And we have Garrett, Gabe, Isaac, who's new, we'll introduce him in a second, and then Katie. And then a few other athletes as well here in the back. So I'm going to introduce Jesse, our senior manager of sports marketing, to talk to the athletes, get you some information on them, and we'll take it from there. If anyone has any questions, let us know. But welcome.
Morning, or not morning, geez. Welcome. Welcome to the Brooks Track House. Thank you guys for coming again. We got a great second session planned. The first session's already been amazing and a little crazy, and so I can only imagine what the second session holds for us. But first things first, we want to just go around the room because everybody doesn't know everybody, so I want to at least have all the athletes introduce themselves and say what they're running. And so we'll start with you, Garrett. We're just going to go around the room like this, so make it nice and easy.
I'm Garrett Heath. I ran the 15 prelim the other day and getting ready for the 5K prelim the other day, and it felt like 15 prelim.
It was kind of a 15.
600 prelim maybe, and getting ready for the 5K final.
I'm Gabrielle Grunwald. I'll be running the 5,000 prelim tomorrow and 5,000 final, hopefully on Sunday.
Isaac Yorks. I'm the new one. I'm running the 1,500 and hopefully we run the final on Sunday.
And I'm Katie Mackey, running with Gabe on the prelims on the 7th of the women's 5K, and then hopefully the final on the 10th.
And Coach Danny Mackey is also joining us as well here in the Brooks House. So let's get started. So the 5K is one of the unique events for the men that kind of spans both the first and second session. So I'm going to start off with Garrett up here and talk a little bit about the semi and how'd that transpire. We all know it was 53 last lap. It was, like you said, it came down to finals at 600. Can you tell us a little bit more about how the race played out, how you felt?
Yeah, it didn't feel as good as I wanted overall, to be honest. What I envisioned going in was being top 6 and kind of cruising through to the final, but it was a lot closer and more dramatic than I wanted, but lived to fight another day, so happy to be moving on. But I think, the 5K prelims, that was kind of weird because, we're used to gearing up to running an all-out 5K right from the start at like a Peyton Jordan or something. And for me, if it's a slower race, I tend to think probably too much out there. And so we weren't going super slow. Diego was kind of keeping it relatively honest, but it was a lot of yo-yoing. And we were going slow enough that I think everybody, just with the emotions, the stadium, the crowd, that everybody felt really good. So there was a lot of kind of tripping over each other. I think everybody probably had a spike wound coming out of it. And, I felt really good all the way up until, like Jesse was saying, that last 600. And then it was, you could kind of feel things ramping up. And, I think that's probably similar to how the final's going to play out a little bit. Maybe sooner there'll be people moving. But you got to be ready to close. And, for whatever reason, legs were a little lethargic the other day and not quite as springy as I'd like, but a little bit older now, so it takes a little bit longer to get warmed up. And so hopefully they're warm now, ready to go for the final.
Yeah, so speaking of the final, you're joined with Riley Masters, a teammate in the final. Just got to be pretty motivating to have a teammate in the final. But for you and Riley, what type of race are you guys looking for or hoping for, and does it help to have a teammate in the race?
Yeah, it's been awesome because, for honestly the last 2.5 years now, Riley and I have done practically everything together. So it's about the best way to keep just in your same routine. And, it's nice to have, we got a couple other athletes in the house now. For the first couple of days, it was really just Riley and I. So we've been going on dates and hanging out together in the house together a lot. So, it's always nicer and it feels, a lot more comfortable and normal to have somebody else who's there going through the same stuff, having, a lot of the same emotions at an event as emotional as this, and one that, you've kind of got so much riding on. I think it helps take the stress away when you've got someone else there. And I guess the other good part for racing is, for both of us, I think going in, we're happy with however it plays out. I think we're both pretty confident in our strength at this point, but you know, we're both moving up generally from the 1500, so if it turns out to be a kicker's race, although neither of us were quite as ready as we'd like to be the other day, I think we're both going to be ready to close for just about anything. So as long as Riley's within striking distance, he'll kick down anything, and hopefully I'll be going right with him.
Well, Garrett being one of the veterans of our team, I want to transition to the newest Beast member. Isaac's running the 1500 for us, and he's really, honestly, a week-old beast. So, just finished up college, University of Washington, which is where the Beasts are every single day in Seattle, and spent 4 years running there. Just finished second at NCAA championships, and let's talk about that just for a second. How has it been your first week and the transition? How did you make that decision, and how does it feel this first week? I mean, you're probably a big weight off your shoulders at this moment.
Yeah, I would say it's a huge weight to finally have a decision made. For me, it was pretty stressful, and it came down to two very good places between this and another place. And honestly, the decision to come to run with Brooks and the Beast came down to intangibles. And it was more of like, where am I going to be happiest at? What place do I feel like do I have the most support? Like, for example, like I can go outside my house and everyone on my block is really excited about the Olympic trials and what's going on with Brooks. And so for me, I don't really want to leave that. I think that that's huge for success over a career. I think that I'm rooted in Seattle, but my wife is also rooted in Seattle. And so that's a hard transition to have someone up and leave. But yeah, it was a happiness factor for me. And it's been a week, but it's been, like I said, I was really, really nervous and full of anxiety about the decision, and it's just this huge weight just each day just fell off my back, and I went from not sleeping very good to getting like 8 to 10 hours of sleep, and it's been nice. And these guys are the best. You couldn't ask for better teammates, you couldn't ask for a better support network, and it's awesome.
Yeah, and I know it was stressful, and I know that you said that you felt better the last couple of days, and you have in a really long time. I know the collegiate season is a grind. There's a lot of racing. You just went through the whole NCAA system that's very hard. Transitioning into the actual race coming up, there's a lot of big names in the 1500. There's medalists in the field. Does that excite you? What are you looking forward to, and how do you look at yourself stacking up to those competitors?
Yeah, so looking at the 1500, I just love that event, and for me, this kind of happened during my college career where I stopped worrying about the big names in the field. You never want to like write anyone off, but it just kind of came to a point where I realized no one's explicitly better than anyone else, and it comes down to living in the moment of that day and not worrying about the accolades that this person has or that, and being able to compete with them. And so I'm really excited just to go out and run against all the people. I think going into the race I have a pretty good shot, and I mean that's the best that anyone can ask for.
That's exciting, yeah. And as Isaac is one of our newest beasts, we transitioned to Katie Mackey, who is probably the original beast. We signed Katie back in 2010 and kind of built this team around her, and anybody that knows Katie knows why. We built this team around her because she's amazing and she's such a teammate and a force. And so Katie is running the 5K this weekend. But let's talk just a little bit about the transition of the beast growing around you, and the let's start there and then we'll transition to the actual race.
Well, first of all, hearing you say that makes me get a little bit emotional. Thank you, Jesse. But it is really cool to see this come full circle, because I remember that day of my NCAA final of my senior year probably clearer than most days. And I remember stepping off the track, and Coach Metcalf was like, all right, well, we're going to go meet Jesse Williams now from Brooks. And I hadn't known that the meeting was happening, so we went over to the Hilton, and I was so excited. And I just remember sitting there and hearing you talk about this vision of how you wanted to build this team, and you wanted it to be middle distance, you wanted it to be one of the best teams in the country and in the world. And I think that that is what Brooks has been able to build here in Seattle, really with the support that we have and with the people that come to train on this team every year who I'm fortunate to call my teammates. It's really, if you could take me from that moment and drop me off here 6 years later, I would be so incredibly happy with everything where we're at. So, and being in Eugene, I think is what makes it feel like more significant, more full circle.
No, and it's the teammates, and I know that it's, you know, for the whole group, having somebody to work out with every day and to go through the struggles that you guys go through is huge. And you transitioned last year into running your first 5K at a major championship. We were all there for that. We all saw, you know, the trip that you had in the 5K, and it looked like, and then you made a big move afterwards. How are you looking at this year's competition, knowing that, hey, you were right there, you were right in it, everybody knows you're right in it, you know, so that's got to give you a lot of confidence going forward into this trials. This will be your 5K debut of the year, but it's also, you've always done very well in each 5 you've run. How does that make you feel going into this weekend?
I am so excited. I'm just feeling so positive and grateful and excited to be here. This is my job. This is what we get to do, is step on the track and race in a stadium filled with thousands of people for a chance to represent our country at the Olympics. I mean, it doesn't get any more exciting than that. And sure, there's a little bit of added pressure, but I think that that just brings out the best in everybody, myself included. And so I'm really, really looking forward to it. And I think all you can do is grow upon every experience that you have and what you've learned from. And last year was one of those lessons that you don't really want to learn, but it really impacted me. And I think even just watching the races all of this week, there's good reminders, you know, give people space. There's been a couple of really big falls. It's not anything that doesn't happen regularly, so it's just good to remember. Also, you know, don't take anything for granted when we're coming into those prelim heats. There's somebody who always is wanting to snag that last spot. And just, I mean, all the things that we've learned. I'm just feel like this is my 3rd time that I'm here at the Olympic trials, and I feel like I've learned something valuable from both of those experiences, and I've never really felt more ready to step on the track than I do.
Yeah, and so you're joined by a couple teammates in the race, but one of them is Gabe, who's here with us today. And Gabe's transitioning from the Olympic trials in the 1500 in 2012 to running the 5K this weekend. So talk about that transition. I mean, obviously you had success indoors, 3K and national champion, but yeah, how did that decision come about?
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to have my national championship debut at the 5K, be at the Olympic trials. I think I have been slowly sort of transitioning into, like Jesse said, done a lot of 3K running, and I feel like that's been a really good event for me. And as I've gotten a little bit older, working on a different system, and I have a lot of speed from the 1500 background that I think should help me in a championship 5K. So I'm just, excited to give it another shot and hopefully improve on the 4th place finish from 2012.
Yeah, so having your 1500 background, what race do you feel best? You know, what race are you looking forward to? I mean, the last 2 U.S. championships have been pretty fast 5Ks with it, and then they still kicked. And then there's been obviously races like Garrett's race and Riley's race where, you know, it's incredibly fast. Last 600 really comes down to this. So what are you hoping for? What do you actually think is going to happen out there? Given we have a lot of 10K girls coming back, it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. It is going to be interesting. There's a lot of different women's 5K athletes who have different skill sets, but I think at any championship you have to be ready for any kind of scenario. So it could be fast from the gun if somebody wants to take it, or it might be kicking just like the guys prelim the other day. I think for me, I feel good about my preparation on both ends. I think I'm ready for any type of race, and the most important thing is just, for me, is going to be just to stick in it no matter how fast it is, and hopefully I'll still be in it at the end to use my speed.
Great. Well, that includes just the moderated portion of this, but we'll be here for